They say silence is a woman's loudest cry, but in the world of billion-dollar business, silence is a weapon. Everyone at the prestigious Obsidian Gala thought Erica Sterling was just a trophy wife past her prime, a relic that her billionaire husband Marcus kept around for appearances, while he paraded his young, ambitious mistress right under her nose. Tonight, the mistress decided she wasn't content with just the man. She wanted the spotlight, and she chose to humiliate Erica in front of New York's elite to get it. She thought she had won. She thought Erica was powerless. But she forgot one crucial detail. Marcus didn't build the empire. Erica bought it. And in 5 minutes, she's going to turn the lights out on both of them. The chandeliers of the Pierre Hotel's grand ballroom didn't just sparkle. They seemed to judge. Beneath them, the air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume, old money, and ruthless ambition. This was the Obsidian Gala, the most exclusive event on the Manhattan social calendar, and tonight it served a singular purpose: the coronation of Marcus Sterling. Marcus, the CEO of Sterling Dynamics, stood near the center of the room, holding a crystal flute of vintage Dom Perignon. He was 50 handsome in a predatory way, with silver fox hair and a tuxedo that cost more than most people's cars. He was laughing loudly at a joke made by a senator, his hand resting possessively on the shoulder of a woman who was definitely not his wife. Standing 20 feet away near a pillar wrapped in white roses stood Erica Sterling. At 48, Erica possessed a beauty that was often overlooked because she chose not to advertise it. She wore a deep navy velvet gown that covered her from neck to toe, elegant but conservative. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and she wore no jewelry other than her wedding band. To the room, she was the invisible woman. She was the woman who had stood by Marcus when he was selling insurance out of a garage in New Jersey. She was the woman who had raised their twins while Marcus spent late nights at the office. "He's in fine form tonight," a voice drawled beside her. Erica didn't turn. She knew the voice. It was Julian Thorne, the corporate attorney for Sterling Dynamics, and perhaps the only man in the room who knew where the bodies were buried. "He's closing the Vanguard deal tonight, Julian," Erica said softly, her eyes fixed on her husband. "He thinks he's invincible. The Vanguard contract is worth $4 billion, Julian noted, taking a sip of his scotch. Once the signature hits the paper at midnight, Sterling Dynamics becomes the largest logistics firm on the East Coast. He has reason to celebrate." "Celebrate," Erica repeated the word, tasting like ash in her mouth. "Is that what he's doing with her?" Julian followed her gaze. Marcus was now whispering something into the ear of Sasha Vane. Sasha was everything Erica was not. 26 years old, a former swimsuit model turned PR consultant for the firm. She was a vision in a scarlet dress that was cut dangerously low in the front and back. She was vibrant, loud, and undeniably stunning. She threw her head back and laughed, her hand resting intimately on Marcus's chest, her fingers toying with his lapel. The room saw it. The investors saw it. The wives of the board members whispered behind their fans. It wasn't a secret anymore. It was a display of dominance. "Erica," Julian said, his voice dropping to a warning whisper. "You don't have to stay. The car is outside. I can handle the paperwork." "No," Erica said, her voice surprisingly steady. "I need to be here, Julian. The contract requires the presence of the primary shareholder." Julian stiffened. "Marcus thinks he is the primary shareholder." Erica finally turned to look at the lawyer, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. "Marcus thinks a lot of things. He thinks he's a genius. He thinks he's loyal. And he thinks I'm just the woman who folds his socks." The tension in the room shifted. The orchestra began to play a waltz. But the attention wasn't on the music. It was on the entrance. Marcus had decided to make a move. He took Sasha's hand and led her toward the center of the dance floor, ignoring the fact that his wife was standing right there. It was a breach of etiquette so severe it made the room go silent. "He's actually going to dance with her first," a woman whispered nearby. The audacity. "Poor Erica," another replied, though the tone dripped with pity rather than sympathy. "She looks so tired." Erica didn't move. She watched as her husband spun his mistress around the floor. Sasha was beaming, glowing with the triumph of a woman who knows she has secured the prize. As they turned, Sasha locked eyes with Erica. It wasn't a look of apology. It was a smirk, a cold, calculated smirk that said, "Your history, and we both know it." Erica took a slow breath. She reached into her clutch and touched the cool metal of a USB drive. "Patience," she whispered to herself. "Just a little more patience." The dance ended, and the applause was polite, but sparse. The old guard of New York society didn't appreciate adultery being paraded in their faces, but money washed away many sins, and Marcus Sterling was about to be very, very rich. Marcus and Sasha walked off the floor, heading straight for the VIP bar, which meant they had to pass Erica. Erica straightened her spine. She didn't retreat. She simply stood her ground, sipping her sparkling water. Marcus saw her and faltered for a fraction of a second. A flicker of annoyance crossed his face, as if her presence was a stain on his perfect evening. "Erica," Marcus said, his tone clipped. "I didn't think you'd stay this long. You usually get a headache by 9. "I'm fine, Marcus," she replied calmly. "It's a big night, the Vanguard deal." "Yes, well." Marcus adjusted his cufflinks, looking past her. "Try not to look so dour. You're depressing the investors. Go mingle. Or better yet, go home. Sasha and I have to entertain the delegation from London later." "Entertain," Erica repeated dryly. "Is that what Sasha does?" Sasha stepped forward, interjecting herself between husband and wife. She swirled her glass of red wine, the dark liquid threatening to spill over the rim. "Oh, Erica." Sasha cooed her voice, pitched high and sweet like poisoned honey. "Don't be jealous. Someone has to help Marcus navigate the modern world. You've done a great job holding down the fort at home all these years. But tonight is about business. High stakes. It's not really a place for housewives, is it?" The insult was loud enough that the circle of people around them stopped talking. Erica looked at Sasha. "I helped build Sterling Dynamics, Sasha. I wrote the original business plan on a napkin in a diner in Trenton." Sasha laughed. It was a cruel barking sound. "A diner? Oh, honey, that's quaint. But we're talking about global logistics now. Artificial intelligence, crypto securities. I doubt you even know how to open a PDF, let alone understand the Vanguard merger." Marcus chuckled. "She has a point, Erica. You're living in the past. Sasha is the future of this company." "The future?" Erica murmured. "Look," Sasha said, stepping closer, invading Erica's personal space. "Why don't you do what you're good at? Go home, bake some cookies, and wait for the alimony check. Because once this deal signs at midnight, Marcus is going to be a billionaire. And let's be honest, a billionaire doesn't look right with a woman who buys her dresses off the rack." The crowd gasped softly. It was a direct attack on Erica's appearance. Erica didn't blink. "This dress is vintage Chanel, Sasha. But I wouldn't expect someone who wears polyester blends to know the difference." Sasha's face turned crimson. Her eyes narrowed. In a moment of calculated rage, she feigned a stumble. "Oops!" With a dramatic jerk of her wrist, Sasha threw the contents of her wine glass forward. The dark red Cabernet splashed across the front of Erica's navy velvet gown, soaking into the fabric, instantly leaving a wet, dark stain that looked like a gunshot wound. The ballroom went deathly silent. Sasha covered her mouth with a hand that sparkled with diamonds Marcus had likely bought last week. "Oh my God, I am so clumsy. But, honestly, Erica, it's an improvement. At least now the dress has some color." Marcus didn't scold her. He didn't offer his wife a napkin. He snorted. He actually laughed. "Come on, Sasha," Marcus said, wiping a tear of laughter from his eye. "Let's get a drink. Erica, go clean yourself up. You look like a disaster." They turned their backs on her. The ultimate dismissal. Erica stood there, the cold wine seeping through to her skin. She felt the eyes of 300 people burning into her. Pity, scorn, amusement. Julian Thorne stepped up to her, his face pale with fury. He offered her his white handkerchief. "Erica, say the word. I'll ruin him. I'll ruin him right now." Erica took the handkerchief and dabbed at the stain. She didn't look like a disaster. She looked like a statue carved from ice. She checked her watch. It was 11:45 p.m. "15 minutes, Julian," she said, her voice dropping an octave, losing all traces of the meek housewife. "Is the representative from the Vanguard group here?" "Yes." Julian nodded. "Mr. Carter Banks. He's in the private drawing room, waiting for Marcus to sign at midnight." "Good," Erica said. She dropped the wine-soaked handkerchief to the floor. "Get Carter Banks. Tell him there's been a change of plans. Tell him the chairman of the board is invoking the Titan Clause." Julian's eyes widened. The Titan Clause. Erica, that nukes the whole company. That requires 51% ownership. Erica turned her head and looked at Julian. For the first time that night, the predator in her eyes was visible. "Do it, Julian. Bring the papers to the main stage. I'm done dancing." The layout of the Obsidian Gala was designed for drama. A raised platform at the front of the room held a single antique oak desk where the contract signing was to take place. At 11:55 p.m., Marcus Sterling took the stage. He was beaming the lights reflecting off his teeth. Sasha stood right beside him, acting the part of the First Lady, waving to the crowd as if she had been elected to office. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus boomed into the microphone, "thank you for coming. Tonight is a historic night. Tonight Sterling Dynamics evolves into a global superpower. I have worked my whole life for this." He paused for applause. The sycophants in the front row clapped enthusiastically. "I have built this company from nothing." Marcus continued rewriting history with every breath. "With my vision and the support of my brilliant team," he squeezed Sasha's waist, "we have secured a merger with the Vanguard Group." A man in a sharp grey suit walked onto the stage. It was Carter Banks, the representative from Vanguard. He looked serious, carrying a leather portfolio. "Mr. Banks," Marcus grinned, extending a hand. "Ready to make history?" Carter Banks didn't shake the hand. He looked uncomfortable. He looked out into the audience, searching for someone. "Mr. Sterling," Carter said, his voice amplified by the mic. "We are ready to proceed, provided all signatories are present." "I'm right here," Marcus laughed. "I'm the CEO. I'm the only signature you need." "Actually," Carter said, checking a document in his hand. "According to the corporate charter of Sterling Dynamics, any transaction exceeding $1 billion requires the unanimous consent of the Founders' Trust." Marcus rolled his eyes. "The Founders' Trust is just a shell entity I set up years ago for tax purposes. I control it. Let's sign." "No, Marcus," a voice rang out from the back of the room. "You don't." The crowd parted. Erica Sterling was walking down the center aisle. She hadn't gone to the bathroom to cry. She hadn't gone home to change. She was still wearing the wine-stained velvet dress, but she wore it like battle armor. Her head was high, her stride purposeful. Julian Thorne walked a step behind her, carrying a thick stack of files. "Erica!" Marcus hissed into the mic, realizing too late that everyone could hear him. "What the hell are you doing? Get off the stage! You're drunk!" Sasha grabbed the mic. "Security. Can we get security? The ex-wife is causing a scene." "I am not the ex-wife yet," Erica said calmly as she ascended the stairs to the stage. She didn't need a microphone. Her voice projected with the clarity of a woman who had spent years screaming on the inside. She reached the desk and looked Carter Banks in the eye. "Mr. Banks, I am Erica Sterling, and I believe you have a contract for me to review." Marcus grabbed Erica's arm. "Have you lost your mind? You're embarrassing me. Get out of here before I have you dragged out." Erica looked down at his hand on her arm. "Let go of me, Marcus, or you will lose more than just your company tonight." Something in her eyes, a cold, dead emptiness, made Marcus recoil. He let go. "What is she talking about?" Sasha shrieked. "She's a nobody. Marcus, sign the papers." Erica turned to the audience. She saw the faces of the board members, the rivals, the socialites. "Marcus told you he built this company from nothing." Erica addressed the room. "But that's not true. 20 years ago, Marcus had a bankruptcy on his record. No bank would touch him. No investor would look at him." She motioned to Julian. Julian handed her a document. "So," Erica continued, "I took my inheritance money. My father left me. Money Marcus swore he would never touch, and I funded the startup capital for Sterling Dynamics. But because Marcus had an ego, too fragile to admit his wife saved him, we put the shares in a blind trust. The Founders' Trust." Marcus's face went pale. "Erica, don't do this. We can talk about this at home." "The Founders' Trust owns 51% of Sterling Dynamics," Erica said, her voice cutting through the silence. "And the sole beneficiary of that trust is me." A collective gasp ripped through the room. Sasha looked between Marcus and Erica, her eyes wide with panic. That's a lie. Marcus, tell them it's a lie." Marcus was sweating now. Beads of perspiration dotted his forehead. It's a technicality. Erica, baby, listen. The Vanguard deal makes us both rich. Insanely rich. Just let me sign and you can have whatever you want. A house in the Hamptons, a jet, name it." Erica looked at the contract on the desk. Then she looked at the red wine stain on her dress. "You had a choice tonight, Marcus," she said softly. "You could have treated me with dignity. You could have stopped her," she pointed a finger at Sasha, "from disrespecting the mother of your children. But you laughed." Erica picked up the heavy fountain pen. "Mr. Banks," Erica said to the Vanguard representative, "as the majority shareholder of Sterling Dynamics, I have reviewed your proposal." "And," Carter Banks asked, holding his breath. "And," Erica said, locking eyes with Sasha, "I find the current management unreliable." She took the pen and, instead of signing, she drew a thick, violent X across the signature page. She then ripped the contract in half. "The deal is dead," Erica declared. "No!" Marcus screamed, lunging for the papers. "No! Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I've done what I should have done years ago," Erica said. She turned to Julian. "Julian, issue the press release. I am calling for an emergency board meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. The first item on the agenda is the removal of the CEO for gross misconduct and fiduciary irresponsibility." Sasha looked like she was going to be sick. You can't fire him. He's the face of the company." Erica stepped close to Sasha. The smell of the spilled wine was strong between them. "And you," Erica whispered, loud enough for the microphone to catch it, You're the PR director, right? Well, here is your first task for tomorrow. Write a statement explaining why the billionaire you tried to steal is now unemployed. Erica dropped the torn contract at Marcus's feet. Enjoy the party, Marcus. I'm taking the car. The morning sun hit the steel and glass facade of the Sterling Dynamics Tower in Midtown Manhattan, but inside, the atmosphere was darker than a tomb. The news of the Obsidian Gala had not just leaked, it had flooded the financial ecosystem. By 6:00 a.m., the Wall Street Journal ran the headline, "Sterling Dynamics in Chaos Wife invokes Titan Clause to block billion-dollar merger." At 7:55 a.m., the elevator doors to the penthouse executive suite opened. Marcus Sterling stepped out. He looked like a man who hadn't slept. His eyes were bloodshot, his jaw unshaven. He was still wearing the tuxedo trousers from the night before, paired with a wrinkled dress shirt. He had spent the night at a hotel because his key to the Manhattan penthouse hadn't worked. He stormed toward the boardroom, expecting to rally his loyalists. He expected to scream, to threaten to force the board to override Erica's insanity. But as he pushed open the double mahogany doors, he stopped dead. The boardroom was full. The 12 members of the board were seated, and at the head of the table, in the chair that had been Marcus's throne for 15 years, sat Erica. She looked immaculate. She was wearing a cream-colored power suit, her hair blow-dried to perfection, sipping an espresso. To her right sat Julian Thorne, looking like the executioner he was. "You're in my seat," Marcus snarled, his voice cracking. "Was," Erica corrected, without looking up from the file she was reading. "I believe the security team has already cleared out your personal effects. They're in a cardboard box down in the lobby. I told them to be careful with your stress balls." "You can't do this, Erica." Marcus slammed his hands on the table. "I am the CEO. The board answers to me." "Actually," a gravelly voice spoke up. It was Arthur Penhaligon, the oldest board member, and a man Marcus had always considered a harmless puppet. "We answer to the shareholders, Marcus, and as of midnight last night, Mrs. Sterling has activated her controlling interest. She has called for a vote of no confidence." "On what grounds?" Marcus shouted, looking around the room frantically. "Because I have a mistress. Half of you have mistresses. Since when is morality a corporate policy?" Erica finally looked up. Her eyes were hard. "This isn't about morality, Marcus. It's about theft." She nodded to Julian. Julian stood up and projected a spreadsheet onto the smart screen behind them. "For the past 3 years," Julian began, his voice clinical, "Marcus has been siphoning corporate funds through a shell company in the Cayman Islands called Vane Consulting." The room went silent. The name Vane hung in the air. "Sasha Vane," Erica clarified, "your PR consultant. You've been paying her $400,000 a month for consulting fees. Fees that were never approved by the board. Fees for services that never existed." Marcus turned pale. That's executive discretion. I needed her expertise. "You bought her a condo in Soho with company money, Marcus," Erica said, flipping a page in her file. "You bought her a Porsche Cayenne with company money. You even paid for her breast augmentation with the company health fund listed under ergonomic office upgrades." A few board members stifled laughs. Others looked disgusted. "That is embezzlement," Julian stated. "It's a federal crime, and it pierces the corporate veil. If we don't fire you immediately and cooperate with the SEC, the entire company goes down." Marcus backed away from the table. "You're framing me. Erica, you're doing this because you're bitter." "I'm doing this because I'm a businesswoman," Erica said, standing up. "And I don't employ thieves. The vote has already passed, Marcus. You are terminated effective immediately. Your stock options are frozen pending the investigation." "Investigation," Marcus whispered. The FBI is in the lobby, Erica said calmly. They'd like a word about the wire transfers. Marcus turned to run, but 2 large security guards were already blocking the doorway. As they escorted the screaming ex-CEO out of the building, he claimed to build Erica didn't even watch him go. She turned back to the board. Now, she said, smoothing her blazer, let's discuss the real merger. The morning sun over Soho was usually Sasha Vane's favorite thing. In the penthouse apartment on Green Street, a space with floor-to-ceiling windows, reclaimed industrial beams, and a price tag that made most people choke the light, hit the Italian marble countertops just right. Sasha stretched in the center of the California king bed, wrapped in 800 thread-count Egyptian cotton sheets. For a few hazy seconds between sleep and wakefulness, she felt like a queen. She remembered the gala. She remembered the thrill of the spotlight, the way Marcus had held her, the look of utter defeat on Erica's face when the wine hit that velvet dress. She smiled, stretching her arms over her head. She had won. She was the future Mrs. Sterling. She reached for her phone on the nightstand, expecting to see a text from Marcus. Maybe something about where they were jetting off to for a celebratory weekend. Aspen, the Amalfi Coast. She unlocked the screen. Her smile vanished instantly. There were no texts from Marcus. Instead, her notification center was a wall of red flags. Bank of America. Alert. Your checking account ending in Euro 988 has been frozen. Amex Platinum transaction declined at Uber Eats 2450. Chase private client alert. Account holding placed by federal authorities. Voicemail 42 missed calls. Sasha sat up, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. What the hell? She whispered. She tapped Marcus's contact. It went straight to voicemail. The subscriber you have dialed is currently unavailable. She tried Julian Thorne, the lawyer. The number you have dialed has been disconnected. Panic, cold and sharp, began to prickle at her skin. She jumped out of bed, her bare feet hitting the cold hardwood. She needed coffee. She needed to think. She walked into the kitchen, tapping the screen of the smart home interface to turn on the lights. Access denied. She tapped it again, harder. Access denied. Stupid thing, she hissed, slapping the panel. Then the intercom buzzed. It wasn't the polite, soft chime of a guest arrival. It was the hard, insistent buzz of the building management override. Ms. Vane, a voice crackled through the speaker. It wasn't the doorman Jerry who always winked at her. It was a woman's voice. Open the door, or we drill the lock. Sasha wrapped her silk robe tightly around herself, tying the sash with trembling hands. She marched to the heavy steel door. Who is this? Do you know who I am? I'm calling the police. We are with the police, the voice replied. Sasha undid the latch and threw the door open. She expected Marcus. She prayed for Marcus. Instead, she found a phalanx of people. Standing in front was a woman who looked like she was carved out of granite. She wore a severe grey suit, rimless glasses, and held a thick clipboard. Behind her stood 2 uniformed NYPD officers, a locksmith with a drill, and 2 men in movers' jumpsuits holding empty cardboard boxes. Sasha Vane, the woman asked. She didn't look at Sasha's face. She looked at the list on her clipboard. Yes, Sasha stammered, blocking the entrance with her body. What is going on? Where is Marcus? Marcus Sterling is currently being processed at the Southern District of New York, holding facility. The woman said, her tone as flat as a dial tone. My name is Joyce Halloway. I am the court-appointed forensic asset manager for Sterling Dynamics. We are here to execute a seizure of corporate assets. Sasha laughed, a high-pitched, hysterical sound. Corporate assets? This is my apartment. Marcus bought this for me. The deed is in my name. Joyce Halloway stepped forward, forcing Sasha to retreat into the foyer. The officers followed, filling the space with an intimidating presence. "Actually, Ms. Vane," Joyce said, pulling a document from the clipboard. "The deed is held by a shell entity known as Vane Consulting LLC. The funds used to purchase this property, $4.2 million, were traced directly from Sterling Dynamics' operational accounts. That makes this apartment stolen property. It is the proceeds of embezzlement." Joyce looked up, her eyes cold behind the lenses. "You are trespassing on a crime scene. You have exactly 30 minutes to vacate the premises." "30 minutes!" Sasha shrieked. "I can't leave in 30 minutes. My life is here. My clothes. My furniture." Joyce signaled the movers. They immediately walked past Sasha and began taking paintings off the walls. "The furniture was purchased with the company corporate card," Joyce recited from memory. "The artwork, a Basquiat print, and 2 modern sculptures was billed as office decor. The electronics were billed as IT infrastructure. None of it belongs to you." Sasha watched in horror as one of the movers unhooked her massive 85-inch television. "You can't do this." Sasha lunged for her phone again. "I'm calling my lawyer." "Go ahead," Joyce said, checking her watch. "But I should warn you, your retainer for the law firm was also paid by Sterling Dynamics. They dropped you as a client 20 minutes ago to avoid a conflict of interest." Sasha froze. She stared at the phone. She had no one. Her parents in Ohio thought she was a successful model. They had no money to help her. Her friends in the city were fair-weather socialites who would drop her the second the credit card declined. She turned and ran to the bedroom. "I'm taking my things. You can't have my clothes." Joyce followed her, her heels clicking ominously on the hardwood. Sasha grabbed her Louis Vuitton duffel bag from the top shelf of the closet. She started frantically pulling items from the racks: a Gucci trench coat, a Balmain blazer, 3 pairs of Louboutins. "Stop!" Joyce commanded. Sasha ignored her, shoving a cashmere sweater into the bag. "These are personal items. Shoes aren't corporate assets. Ms. Vane," Joyce said, stepping closer. "We have the credit card statements. March 12th. Bergdorf Goodman, $12,000. April 4th. Saks, 5th Avenue, $8,000. All paid for by the Vane Consulting expense account. Classification, uniforms." Joyce signaled one of the officers. The policeman stepped forward, gently but firmly, putting a hand on the duffel bag. "Ma'am, put the bag down. If you attempt to remove stolen property, we will have to arrest you for grand larceny." Sasha gripped the handle of the bag, her knuckles turning white. Tears of rage and humiliation streamed down her face, ruining her makeup. "So what I leave naked, is that what you want? You can keep the robe," Joyce said, marking something off on her clipboard. "And whatever street clothes you can prove were purchased with your own personal funds. Do you have receipts for anything purchased with a personal debit card?" Sasha stood there shaking. She didn't. She hadn't spent a dime of her own money in 2 years. Marcus paid for everything. Every coffee, every manicure, every stitch of clothing. She had saved nothing. "I hate you," Sasha sobbed, releasing the bag. It hit the floor with a heavy thud. "You have 15 minutes remaining," Joyce said, unmoved. "The locks will be changed at 9:00 a.m. sharp." Sasha scrambled to the dresser. She found a pair of old yoga pants and a t-shirt she had owned before she met Marcus, the only things she could legally claim. She stripped off the silk robe, throwing it on the floor in a pile of spite, and pulled on the old clothes. She looked in the mirror. Without the couture, without the jewels, without the context of the penthouse, she looked small. She looked ordinary. She grabbed her phone and her charger. "Can I at least take my makeup?" Sasha pleaded, her voice breaking. Joyce peered into the bathroom at the array of La Mer and Chanel cosmetics. She sighed a momentary flicker of human annoyance. "Take the toiletry bag, but leave the perfume. The Tom Ford bottles are listed on the invoice." Sasha swept the bottles into a small pouch. She walked out of the bedroom, passing the movers who were now wrapping the sofa in plastic. It was a dismantling of her identity. She reached the front door, feeling the eyes of the police officers burning into her back. She felt like a squatter being evicted from a palace. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down, desperate for a lifeline. It was an email. The sender name made her stomach drop. From Erica Sterling, subject to proposal. Sasha leaned against the doorframe, her legs weak. She opened the message. "Sasha, I know you're packing. I assume Joyce Halloway is currently explaining the nuances of asset forfeiture to you. It's a painful process, isn't it? Watching the life you didn't earn get put into cardboard boxes. I know Marcus is in custody. I know you're wondering how you're going to pay for a criminal defense attorney when your accounts are frozen. The truth is you can't. You are looking at 5 to 10 years as an accessory to fraud. Marcus will likely throw you under the bus to save himself. He'll say you seduced him into spending the money. However, I have a one-time offer. Meet me at Le Bernardin private dining room at 1 euro p.m. today. If you show up, I might be inclined to tell the district attorney that you are a cooperating witness rather than a co-conspirator. If you don't show up, well, I hope you like orange jumpsuits. It's not really your color." As Sasha stared at the screen until the pixels blurred, the sheer power move terrified her. Erica knew exactly what was happening, second by second. Erica was the one pulling the strings of the puppets, and Sasha was just another marionette whose strings had been cut. "Time is up, Miss Vane," Joyce said from the living room. "Please surrender your keys." Sasha reached into her pocket and pulled out the heavy brass key ring, the keys to the lobby, the elevator, the roof deck. She dropped them into Joyce's outstretched palm. "Get out," Joyce said. Sasha turned and walked out into the hallway. The door slammed shut behind her, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the quiet corridor. She heard the drill of the locksmith start up, immediately boring into the metal, erasing her access forever. She stood by the elevator, clutching her phone and her bag of makeup, wearing old yoga pants. She pressed the button for the lobby. She had no money for a cab. She had no apartment. She had no fiancé. But she had an invite to lunch. And for a starving rat, a trap with cheese was better than starving to death. She wiped her face, a new desperate resolve hardening in her eyes. She pressed the button again. "Okay, Erica," she whispered to the empty shaft. "You want to play? Let's play." The private dining room at Le Bernardin was a sanctuary of hushed tones, polished teak, and the faint, briny scent of the world's most expensive seafood. It was a place where captains of industry carved up territories over yellowfin tuna. It was quiet, serious, expensive. Erica Sterling sat at a corner table, her back straight against the banquette. She wore a cream-colored silk blouse that caught the soft lighting, looking every inch the billionaire matriarch. In front of her sat a cup of herbal tea and a thick black leather legal folder. She checked her watch. 12 p.m. She wasn't annoyed by the lateness. She knew exactly why Sasha was late. It takes time to walk 20 blocks in cheap flip-flops when you don't have cab fare. At 1:15 p.m., the heavy glass doors opened. The maître d' man who usually greeted guests with a warm, professional smile looked visibly pained. He was escorting a woman who looked like she had just survived a natural disaster. Sasha Vane stood in the doorway. She was wearing old black leggings and a stretched-out t-shirt. Her hair, usually a glossy cascade of extensions and professional blowouts, was pulled back in a messy, frantic bun. She was clutching her Louis Vuitton toiletry bag like a life preserver. The diners in the main room turned to look. The whispers started immediately. "Is that the mistress? Oh my God, she looks homeless. Look at her shoes." Sasha kept her head down her face, burning with a heat that felt like a sunburn. The maitre d' guided her quickly to the private room, eager to get the spectacle out of the main dining area. "Madame," the maitre d' said, stiffly pulling out the chair opposite Erica. Sasha collapsed into the seat. She didn't look at the menu. She didn't look at the waiter. She stared daggers at the woman sitting across from her. "You're enjoying this?" Sasha rasped her voice, dry. She hadn't had water in hours. Erica took a slow sip of her tea, placing the porcelain cup back on the saucer, with a delicate clink. "I'm not enjoying it, Sasha. Enjoyment implies emotion. This is just accounting. Balancing the books." Erica signaled the waiter. "Sparkling water for my guest. No ice. And leave us." The waiter poured the water and vanished, closing the sliding frosted glass door behind him. The silence that followed was suffocating. Sasha grabbed the glass and drank it in one desperate gulp. She slammed the glass down. "Cut the crap, Erica. You took the apartment. You froze the accounts. Marcus is in jail. You won. Why drag me here to gloat? If I wanted to gloat, I would have let the press into the lobby of your building this morning," Erica said calmly. "I brought you here because I have a problem. And surprisingly, you are the solution." Sasha let out a bitter laugh. "I'm the solution. I'm currently destitute because of you." "You're destitute because you trusted a narcissist," Erica corrected. "But let's talk about your future. Right now, the FBI is building a case against Marcus for embezzlement. It's a strong case. But embezzlement is white-collar stuff. It gets you 5 years in a minimum security camp where they teach you how to garden. With good behavior, he's out in 2. Erica leaned forward, her eyes darkening. 2 years isn't enough for me, Sasha. I want him buried." Sasha frowned, confusion cutting through her anger. "What do you mean?" Erica placed her hand on the black leather folder. "Marcus didn't just steal money from the company to buy you shoes. He was desperate to close the Vanguard deal. So desperate that he crossed a line that the feds take very seriously." Erica opened the folder and slid a single photograph across the table. It was a grainy surveillance photo. It showed Marcus sitting in a diner, sliding a thick manila envelope across a table to a man in a grey suit. "That man," Erica said, pointing to the figure in grey, "was the chief compliance officer for Vanguard 2 years ago. Marcus paid him $3 million in cash to overlook a massive debt hole in Sterling Dynamics books. That is bribery. It's racketeering. It falls under the RICO Act." Sasha stared at the photo. I don't know anything about that." "Don't lie to me," Erica said sharply. The snap in her voice made Sasha jump. "You were there, Sasha. You drove him to that meeting. You waited in the car. The GPS logs on your company-leased Porsche confirm it. You sent a text to your friend that day saying, 'Boring meeting Marcus is paying off some suit.'" Sasha's face drained of blood. She remembered. She thought it was just business. She didn't know it was a felony. "If the feds connect you to that bribe," Erica continued, her voice dropping to a whisper, "you aren't looking at eviction. You are looking at 15 years as an accomplice to racketeering. Federal prison, Sasha. Real prison." Sasha began to tremble. "I didn't know he told me it was a settlement fee. Erica, please, I can't go to jail. I'm 26. "I know," Erica said, "and you have very soft hands. You wouldn't do well inside." Erica tapped the folder. "This is the Judas Protocol. It's a plea deal. My lawyer, Julian, spent all morning with the district attorney. We have arranged full immunity for you." Sasha looked up, hope warring with suspicion. "Immunity? What's the catch?" "You have to testify," Erica said. "You have to take the stand in open court, look Marcus in the eye, and tell the jury that you drove him to the meeting. You have to confirm he told you he was bribing the official. You have to give them the one thing paper trails can't give intent." Sasha slumped back in her chair. Betraying Marcus. He was the love of her life, or so she had thought. But he was also the man who was currently sitting in a cell while she was on the street. "He'll kill me," Sasha whispered. "He's powerful." "He was powerful," Erica corrected. "Now he's just a broke criminal. But before you decide to protect him, out of some misguided sense of loyalty, you should look at the last page of that folder." Sasha hesitated, then flipped to the back of the file. It was a bank statement, a Swiss account, UBS Bank. The account holder was Marcus Sterling. The balance was $12 million. "He has money!" Sasha gasped. "He told me he was liquidating assets to pay for the wedding. He told me cash was tight." "Look at the beneficiary," Erica said softly. Sasha scanned the document. Beneficiary in case of death, Marcus Sterling Jr., his son. Secondary beneficiary, the Sterling Family Trust. Sasha's name wasn't there. "He was never going to marry you, Sasha," Erica said, delivering the final psychological blow. "He was hiding money from me, yes, but he was hiding it from you too. You were the distraction. You were the fun time. But you were never the partner. If the ship went down, he had a life raft. You were just the anchor." Sasha stared at the paper. The betrayal hit her harder than the poverty. He had lied about everything. She looked up at Erica. The anger in Sasha's eyes had shifted. It was no longer directed at the wife. It was directed at the husband. "Where do I sign?" Sasha asked, her voice steady for the first time that day. Erica produced a silver fountain pen, the same pen she had used to strike through the contract at the gala. Sasha signed the immunity agreement. Her signature was jagged, angry. "Good," Erica said, taking the folder back. She reached into her purse and pulled out a check. She slid it across the table. Sasha looked at it. It was a personal check from Erica Sterling. The amount was $50,000. "What is this?" "Severance," Erica said coldly. "It's enough to get you out of New York. Go back to Ohio. Go to Idaho. Go anywhere, but if I see you in Manhattan again, I will revoke the immunity deal and let the wolves have you." Sasha took the check. Her hands were shaking. $50,000 was what she used to spend on a weekend trip. Now it was her entire life. She stood up, clutching the check and her toiletry bag. She looked at Erica, searching for some sign of victory, some smirk. But Erica's face was a mask of indifference. That hurt more than hate. To Erica, Sasha wasn't a rival. She was just a loose end to be tied up. "You're a monster," Sasha whispered. "I'm a CEO," Erica replied, picking up her tea. "Don't miss your bus." Sasha Vane turned and walked out of the private room, past the staring diners, and out into the harsh, bright reality of the New York streets. She was safe from prison, but she was exiled from the kingdom. Inside the room, Erica waited until the door clicked shut. She pulled out her phone and dialed Julian. "She signed," Erica said. "The Judas Protocol is active. Give the recording to the feds. Marcus is finished." She hung up the phone, and finally, for the first time in 24 hours, Erica Sterling allowed herself a small, genuine smile. The king was dead. Long live the queen. 3 months is a lifetime in the world of high finance. In that short window, the Sterling Dynamics empire had been stripped down to its studs and rebuilt, but this time, the foundation wasn't made of ego and debt. It was made of iron. The scene for the quarterly shareholder meeting was the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel, the same venue where years ago Marcus had first announced the company's IPO. But the atmosphere today was different. There were no showgirls, no champagne fountains, and no mistresses in red dresses. The room was packed with serious men and women in dark suits, holding tablets, checking the real-time ticker. The stock, which had cratered the morning of Marcus's arrest, had spent 90 days climbing back up. Today, it was poised to break an all-time high. Backstage, Erica Sterling adjusted the lapel of her charcoal blazer. She looked at her reflection in the vanity mirror. The woman looking back wasn't the tired wife from the Obsidian Gala. She was sharper. Her hair was cut into a sleek, asymmetrical bob. Her eyes were clear. "You're on in 2 minutes, Miss Sterling," a stage manager whispered. Erica nodded. "Is the feed live?" "Yes, ma'am. Streaming globally. And we confirmed the IP address from Rikers Island is connected." Erica allowed herself a cold, satisfied smile. Marcus was currently sitting in a communal recreation room in the North Infirmary Command, watching this on a mounted television surrounded by other inmates. He had been denied bail 3 times. Erica walked out onto the stage. The applause was immediate. It wasn't the raucous, drunken cheering of Marcus's parties. This was the heavy, rhythmic applause of respect. The board members in the front row stood up. Erica approached the podium. She didn't raise her voice. She leaned into the microphone, forcing the room to go silent to hear her. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "we have weathered the storm. The corruption that rotted this company from the inside out has been excised. We have cooperated fully with the SEC and the Department of Justice. The past is closed." She paused, looking out over the sea of faces. But a company cannot survive on cleaning up the past. It needs a future. Marcus Sterling promised you a merger with the Vanguard Group. He lied to you. He used that promise to inflate the stock price while he looted the treasury. A murmur of anger went through the crowd. They all remembered the betrayal. However, Erica continued, her voice gaining strength, "I believe in keeping promises, even ones I didn't make. We needed a strategic partner, a partner with the capital and the discipline to take Sterling Dynamics global. So I went out and found one." She gestured to the wings of the stage. "Please welcome the Senior Director of Distressed Assets for BlackRock, Mr. Carter Banks." The room gasped. BlackRock was the largest asset manager in the world. They didn't just buy companies, they owned the economy. Carter Banks walked onto the stage looking sharp in a navy suit. The audience was confused. They recognized him. He was the man from the gala, the man everyone thought was from Vanguard. Carter took the podium, shaking Erica's hand firmly. "I imagine some of you are confused." Carter said, a dry smile on his face. "You saw me 3 months ago holding a Vanguard portfolio. That was theater." He looked at the camera. Erica approached BlackRock 6 months ago. She suspected her husband was cooking the books, but couldn't prove it without alerting him. She needed him to feel pressure. She needed him to make a mistake. So we agreed to a sting operation. I posed as a Vanguard rep to force Marcus to accelerate his fraud, to make him sloppy. And it worked. The Titan clause wasn't just a defensive measure, it was the trap door. The audience sat in stunned silence. They realized all at once the sheer scale of the game Erica had been playing. While Marcus was playing checkers with a mistress, Erica had been playing 4D chess with the world's largest financial institution. The applause that followed was thunderous. It was the sound of a room acknowledging a new alpha. Erica stepped back to the mic. "Marcus Sterling thought power was about noise," she said, her voice echoing through the hall and miles away into a jail cell. "He thought power was shouting, spending, and being seen. He forgot the most important rule of business." Erica looked directly into the camera lens, her eyes piercing through the screen. Real power isn't about the spotlight, she whispered. Real power is owning the switch. She raised her hand and snapped her fingers. Instantly, the house lights in the massive ballroom cut to black. The only light remaining was a single stark spotlight on Erica. The Sterling era is over, she declared from the pool of light. Welcome to the Obsidian Age. She turned and walked off stage into the darkness, leaving the audience sitting in the pitch black, stunned, terrified, and absolutely impressed. Wow. Just wow. I think we all learned a valuable lesson today. Never ever underestimate the person who knows where the bodies are buried, especially if she's the one who bought the shovel. Erica Sterling didn't just divorce him. She dismantled him brick by brick. It's the ultimate karmic justice. Marcus lost his company, his money, and his freedom because he mistook silence for weakness. If you enjoyed this story of high-stakes revenge and corporate takedowns, make sure you smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want more stories where the underdog bites back, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I've got another story coming next week about a gold digger who accidentally marries a broke man thinking he's a billionaire. And you do not want to miss the twist. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Erica went too far, or did Marcus get exactly what he deserved? I'll be reading your replies. Thanks for watching, and stay drama-free.